filmmakers have a very tough time finding distribution or just
Right.
getting people to watch their film
Right.
because of the fact they're filmmakers, right?
Right.
Like, and we go about this actually in our film festival for
Yeah.
the Momi 2 College Film Festival. One of the little educational panels we have on is literally on distribution
Cool.
because of the fact that you're not taught this in college.
No, that's the thing is, there are so many different ways to get a film out there. And having worked in distribution, here's the thing that bugs me the most is like if you're making a film, let's say it's under $1 million, especially if it's under 500 or 350 K, people have this mindset, unless you're a filmmaker. And I go to so many film festivals, and of course, there's some good, some bad, but like there are incredible low budget films out there. But
Mhm.
people have this idea of like, oh, if it's under 350K, it's a piece of trash. Like, why would I even I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. So there's this kind of stigma around films that you're already
Mhm.
fighting up against in
Yeah.
these spaces. Plus, if you're a first-time filmmaker, it's hard. But I think the main pitfall I see filmmakers fall into is spending their budget before having any financing left for marketing. And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
there are two ways to go about getting a film out there. You self-distribute or you get a distribution company to distribute. Either way, the biggest takeaway I have is no one is going to care about your film more than you.
For
So
sure.
you're going to get all these promises. They can be in writing. I think most distributors know that the films they're representing at this level, the filmmakers don't have the money to fight them in court because it would cost so much more in legal
Yeah.
fees. So even if it's in writing, be prepared for some of those things to not be acted
Yeah.
upon. So essentially, in order to get the film out there, you can go the self-distribution route. You can get an aggregator like Bitmax or something where you yourself get all the licenses. You go through this aggregator. They like QC the film, and then they can list it on like Amazon, iTunes, those standard VOD platforms.
Typical TVOD.
Yeah, TVOD, and then like I think
rentals purchases.
Yeah, some of them have these like connections with Hulu and Peacock and other platforms like that. But it's a hit and miss. Ultimately, though, you will be the one having to market the shit out of your film.
You're still marketing your film regardless.
Yeah, so
Unless you're paying them to have a sales agent take it over to like France or take it over
Right.
to wherever to sell it to other platforms and such.
Right. So you're going to be doing a lot of the legwork. And in terms of marketing, you want to have like obviously a strong social campaign, strong every email you have, email blasting. But I think there's only so far you can go with the organic reach. And like that's another consideration in terms of like casting and who you have attached is thinking about like what deals do they have to market the film, because that will be helpful. And I got lucky. We had no deals, but our cast is awesome and just like went out there promoting the film. And then if you do have a distributor, their job is to pitch to these different platforms aside from the ones you can list it on yourself, and then go a step further and also like pitch to have it on carousel placements, which like I can't do myself as a filmmaker, but they're supposed to get it on the new and noteworthy section or like up and coming horror, whatever the different things are, because again, there's so many films out there. It's easy to get a film buried, especially one named Trust. So the whole point of getting a distributor is so that they support the release. They know how to position it. And a sales agent too. Like I think there are pros and cons to all of it, because you have a distributor, they're taking money. You bring on a sales agent, that's another person taking money. I think what I've realized is you kind of have to not expect the money, kind of toss that aside and maybe hope for exposure. But sometimes where we get screwed is you're not getting any money, your film's kind of buried. And like, how do you fight up against that? So if you have a sales agent who's going to different territories and helping it get out there, there's value in that. So you kind of have to weigh the value of all these different things. And I would urge filmmakers, if you're getting distribution offers, to be very specific in your contracts, that like you will get pressured to sign something. You will get pressure to take deals.
But
And,
even like you mentioned, though, even if you get something in writing,
right. You're still,
it's tough because they can still like just not do something, and then you're like, what the
right.
heck? And then
But you might as well do what you can to try and
yeah,
protect yourself and your film because it's a lot harder if it's not
yeah,
in writing. Like if they're making verbal promises about a
mm,
theatrical release, and obviously things shift. Like nowadays, the theatrical market's pretty hard to make
yeah,
recoupable things with. But if you have something in writing that's like, we guarantee we will try to pitch within this time frame to many platforms. Then at least you have some reassurance
yeah,
and you can kind of like hold them to a standard.
for sure.
Or even like there's an expectation of having meetings. When I worked in distribution, I was in marketing. You also want to know like what does that entail? What's the cap that they can spend?
Hmm.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's I hear too many stories of filmmakers who have films that are like, I just haven't made any money, and I'm like, well,
Right.
who's distributing it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're like,
Another
yeah,
thing.
they give you a percentage that looks really nice, but
Yeah.
then you don't realize that in the small print, in the fine print, it states that there is no cap that they can take
Right.
to do whatever, and
Yeah.
to, oh, we'll position your film in the top 5 that we're selling at this
Right.
market, but then, oh, by the way, we're taking out $500 to help pay for our flight.
Right, exactly. And I don't think filmmakers realize that. So there's a lot to consider. I think if you do go the self distribution route, there's a lot more you can control in terms of like, I've seen friends go to like 30 film festivals, some that are really well regarded and others that are holes in the wall, but you're building up this local audience. And of
Yep.
course, that adds up too. Um, but now they're getting significantly more traction than someone like me who didn't really have control over the festivals
Yeah.
because it was
Well,
in
because you signed that away.
right, sign
Yeah.
that away. So there are pros and cons to everything, I would say.
Yeah, we actually had a short film that was in our film festival for the college students, and we had this, we did the distribution panel, and after the festival's over, they tried to get their short film signed by someone,
Yeah.
and someone approached them and was like, "Hey, we'd love to sign your film," and they're like, "Cool," and then they presented them a deal that was just like not good.
Mm,
It was like 11 years. It was like all
yeah.
rights. It was like future IP rights, all this
See, and that's
stuff.
where also on shorts, it's like it's hard to get distribution for a short, but that's where you want to be mindful is any future iteration of the
Yeah,
project. You
that they would own the rights to
right,
that and all that
that's
stuff too. So it's just like there were so many red flags, and I didn't see the contract.
mm,
He actually came to me, was like, "Hey, by the way, this doesn't look right." Based on the things we talked about in the panel,
yeah.
like
Wow.
I was like, they paid attention. That's
Yeah,
awesome,
good.
right?
Good.
Like,
That's what it's for. Yeah.
and that's exactly why we do it, because there's so many things that filmmakers can get caught up on. So like, if you're looking at like say a single territory, like don't do all territories for one single person.
Right.
Like, and if you're going to, make sure it's not exclusive,
Right. And
right? So that you
also
can go out and give it to someone else and
right. I
have
think
like 2, 3 people to
filmmakers
even sell it.
with music licenses or like MGs, minimum guarantees, like
Hmm.
I am now of the belief, and I got a small minimum guarantee, like a small advance paid up front for
Yeah.
the film.
Hmm.
If I were to sign a distribution deal ever again, I would expect significantly more, or I'd just try to go the self route.
Yeah. And again, that's also going to depend on your budget
Right.
and depending on the expectations of what your film can actually do. The other thing we talked about in another episode was also just like the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
Is your story what people want to see?
Right.
Right? Like, because you wrote the story for yourself, and it's
Right.
about your own experience.
And it's a family drama. And actually, funny you bring that up. It's probably the least sellable genre ever.
It's
Which,
not the film itself is very, very good.
well,
but
thank
I
you.
do agree with you in the sense,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Which I knew.
there are some genres that are more
Sellable
catchy,
than others.
right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Which I would say you're gonna get people in this industry who are like, don't make that. It's not very sellable. Do make this. And frankly, I am focused more on horror content right now because
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm going a different route with the next stuff. I'm trying to like, I have, my manager pitching to different people. We're selling things versus like trying to do the financing myself route. But I went against what everyone said. They're like, drama's not sellable. And I realized like, even we premiered at CineQuest, and the film had such an amazing reception that they just kept adding more screenings. And I think it's a film that resonates really hard with some people, pisses the other people off. But I'm like,
Yeah.
if you believe in what you're writing or creating enough, you can hear all the things about how it's not sellable, but people can feel your passion and there will be an audience for it.
For sure.
But you definitely want to be smart about I know drama is not the most sellable, so something to consider.
It's very appealing, but it's hard to sell because
Yeah.
this is the thing when I talk to the college filmmakers about like even just the categories they're entering into. There was a filmmaker who entered their film into drama, yet we have black cinema as a category. And I said, you should be entering into this. They're like, why? I said, well, we're going to hit the most dramas submitted and your film will stand out more as a black cinema film. Same thing for another film. They put it in drama. And I said, you know what? We don't have as many films that are going into the potential pilot category.
Gotcha.
And I was like, if you think about it, your film is a pilot.
Right.
And they're like, what? And I was like, let me walk you down why. And I was like, if you use this as a pilot, you have X, Y, and Z as like episodes, even if it's a mini series to build off of that. And they're like,
Right.
oh my gosh, I never thought about that way, right? But just by repackaging it in a different category or niche or whatever, right? Like it makes the film more appealing.
Right.
And so people have to understand that when you're making a drama, well, guess how many other people are making
Right.
dramas? That's why they're not sellable. It's not that they're not good.
Yeah.
It's just that a lot of people make dramas.
And that's the thing too, is when you go with a distributor, you don't get to like A/B test what works and what doesn't work in terms of selling you're talking about packaging, and it's like with the film trust, I think there are a lot of funny moments. I don't think it's a pure drama. Our distributor took us because we have a Jewish angle, and they've been marketing it as strictly religious.
Yeah. A faith-based film.
I don't see it as a faith-based film. There's barely any element of it in there. So to me, if I were to reclaim the rights and just market it myself, that would not have been the angle. Maybe that would have been one audience I would A/B test, but I would sell it more to, I don't know, millennials who are
What's the thing? They should be selling it to two different markets.
selling it to different markets.
Don't package it in one place. Like
Right.
you can sell it as a faith-based film.
Right. But there's I think an even stronger audience with like millennials who are finally given permission to find their own families. Like there's
100%.
Yeah, versus like I actually think this older audience that is being marketed the movie is upset with the message of the movie. They're like, I actually reading some of the reviews cracks me up. Someone said something like the lovely Jewish mother. I'm like, you never meet her. She's dead in the movie.
She's in an urn.
Yeah, and they're like so offended by
Yeah.
this family and the way that the lead goes about things. So yeah, I mean, packaging is a huge thing to think about.
Thanks for spending your time with us today on the More From Me and You podcast. If you've made it to the end, we appreciate you. Now, go do us a quick favor. Please like, comment, and share this episode. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode with the incredible guests we have coming up. You can also follow us at Momi2Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. Oh, and for your next movie night, check out the Momi2 app. It's free and packed with amazing movies and shows you've probably never seen. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the pod.